My eyes are closed, so things seem okay. I tell myself, as long as I keep them closed, everything will be fine. I shove the pillow hard against my eyelids, but the stale smell of the bedding and the dull pain in my jaw tell me everything is not fine. I roll over and open my eyes to the sorry sight of ashen furniture worn threadbare by 1,000 habitations of one-nighters. This is not my happy home. I step into the rust-dribbled shower, turn on the faucet, find a sliver of soap, and make do. I dress and remove the blue and red toothbrushes from my backpack, standing them in a water glass on the sink. With my index finger, I separate the brushes, appropriate to the circumstances. I try to call her again and only get her recording. I leave the motel in the rain and walk toward downtown. Passing a takeout stand, a helper on InVision asks, "Are you hungry?" I try to remember when I last ate, but I can't. I sit on the seat of the high booth and order eggs, fries, toast, and coffee. Breakfast and utensils are disgorged from the food slot onto the counter in front of me. I poke at the fries and tell Dead Meat, "She hasn't returned my call. I don't know where she is. I guess she'll just have to find me." The Dud helper wonders, "Are you worth it?" I'm not up to an argument and I let the insult pass. I tell him, "These fried potatoes are made from corn. There isn't one bit of potato in them." "Of course they're made from corn. All food is made from corn. Everybody knows that." Anyway, I tell him, I says that's all wrong. I don't even know anymore. Like I care. I'm not even hungry. I get up to leave, and the voice of the auto waiter says, "Your auto payment is rejected." Dead Meat says, "Paying chump change." I tell him, "Look, I may be down, but I'm not down so far that I use trash money. I'll settle this later." I step away from the counter and my status light flashes red. I take another step and alarms go off. I sit down and they're silenced. Then a wad of crumpled bills plops out of the food slot and tumbles onto the counter. I tell Dead Meat, "It seems like I owe you." He says, "Yes, more." I pay for the uneaten meal with the detestable money, and am determined to clear up this credit mess once and for all. I enter the megaplex through a rotating, brass-trimmed door and ask the auto directory for Money Matters. Door number 1. I cross the lobby to slip door 1 and enter a standard habby room and take a seat at a mahogany-looking table. On InVision, a female credit helper asks, "How can I help you, Mr. Vanilla?" I tell her, "I don't understand my status." She says, "Let's have a look." Pages of my credit report fill my InVision. "It seems you have a suspicious-looking spot on your credit. Have you had a credit cancer screening lately?" I tell her, "I'm a real gold guy." She says, "If I were you, I'd be concerned about that spot. May I suggest you get a credit cancer screening at one of our money clinics?" "Where's that?" I ask. "We have money clinics in all the megaplexes." This is a megaplex. See how convenient? I return to the lobby and ask the auto directory for the location of the money clinic. Door number 1. I tell the auto directory, "I was just in door number 1. "Yes, convenient, isn't it?" I go back into number 1 and sit down at the mahogany table. A female cancer screening helper in a lab coat appears. Good morning, Mr. Vanilla. I see you are here for your credit cancer screening. I tell her there's nothing wrong with my credit. I demand to know why my status is flaky. And what's this spot they're all talking about? In a concerned voice, she says, You seem upset, Mr. Vanilla, and that's understandable. I know just hearing the mention of credit cancer can be a very harrowing experience. Now, let's just see what's going on. Pages of financial tables fly across my InVision. She says, I assume you understand how credit allocation works. Of course I do. It's simple. I earn credit by working. The more I work, the more credit I earn. My credit grows with my credibility. That's what makes me a real gold guy. She says, Well, it's almost that simple. And looking at your history, I see you've built up a hefty credit line. So far, so good. But what about the energetic stock that you bought on credit? What about it? Look at this. A news thing says, as gas lines stretch, energetic stock gets slammed. The question worrying stockholders is not only will the mega gas producer be able to keep up with demand, but some are questioning if it will be able to produce any gas at all. Yesterday, both Las Vegas and Wall Street bet the answer to that question is no. The cancer screening helper says, It looks like the share price of Energetics has gone down to, oh, it's still going down. Do you mind if I ask how you were going to actually pay back the money you borrowed to buy the stock? I tell her, well, with the energy shortages and all, I figured it's bound to keep going up. She says, and I'm sure you were sincere in your hopes. But taking into consideration your debt versus your assets, I tell her, look, bottom line, how big is my problem? In round numbers, Mr. Vanilla, 32 million. So, what I make of this is aside from this worthless stock and a bunch of debt, all I have left to my name is my happy home. Not exactly. See here, because of this spot on your credit, you missed your auto house payment yesterday. I explain. Yesterday, I was the victim of a violent crime. I was in the hospital. I can't believe this. So you're telling me that I'm losing my happy home? She says, and that might not be the worst of it. I'll be straight with you, Mr. Vanilla. Insolvency, foreclosure, these all are the symptoms of credit cancer. I can see how upset you are. But this is not the end of the world. Millions of people have scrapes with credit cancer. And those with true grit, they fight it and they beat it. So, I want you to take a deep breath now. Good. Let's take this one step at a time, beginning with your symptoms. Now, the main sticking point seems to be the imbalance resulting from the late fee add-on interest component of the compounding interest on the principal of the loan. I know 32 million seems pretty daunting, but it doesn't have to be a showstopper. You have to begin with baby steps. Licking credit cancer is all about baby steps. Your capability is your greatest asset. Even as your credibility is sliding, your capability rating has never been higher. I mean, after all, a creative guy like you, why, as soon as you get rolling on this project for the president? What project, I ask. She lowers her voice. We have it on good authority that this undertaking could give you a whole new lease on life. Who told you what? The helper laughs. Come now, Mr. Vanilla. I'm sure you respect the need for confidentiality here. Confidentiality puts us in the best position to help you. And now that we understand the nature of the spot on your credit, let's focus on what we can do to make that go away. Here, let me pull up the Money Matters recommended treatment plan. First thing, in order to get you off on the right foot, we are going to cut you some slack. Rest assured, Money Matters isn't cutting you off entirely. So, that's a real plus in itself. Oh, Mr. Vanilla, you look depressed. No, don't shake your head at me. As a medical auto professional, I've seen enough depression to know the signs, and denial is one of them. But face it, when you're depressed, and there's no getting around it. Take my word for it. Depression is nothing to be ashamed of. Now, in order to maximize progress in your fight with credit cancer, we're going to tackle your depression head on. And I have just the resource for you. I'm giving you a referral for auto therapy with Dr. RX. He's helped hundreds of depressed people just like you, right on Envision. After spending most of the day in room number 1, I have nothing to show for it. My credit still won't buy me a cab ride. It's getting dark, and the overcast is turning from gunmetal gray to charcoal as I walk back to Motel 6. I quicken my pace and check my messages. Message from Dad. Hey, Vin, I sure hate to bother you, but we seem to be locked out of our Habby, and Helper doesn't know who we are. Mom pushes him aside. What is this spot thing? Message from Flamer Man. Hey, Vinny, are you buying into the game with us or what? Message from Auto Broker. You know, Vinny, with what you still have left? Message from Money Matters. We'd like to take just a few moments of your time to complete a customer survey. Message from Vida. Don't forget what I told you about President Stickman. Message from Ice. Vinny, I'm sorry about running off like that, but about bid poison, we really need to talk. I start to leave a message answering her message. Look, Ice, you're going to have to tell me, but I'm cut short by another power failure. Without the street lights, it's pitch black. I turn on surveillance night vision. The ghoulish slime green graffiti on the wasted buildings depict broken, bleeding bodies. Next to the spray-painted words, "Arf, arf," is a primitively drawn canine, its jaws ripping out a man's throat. Here and there, a few streetlights come on. I hear dogs howling in the distance. A girl, pulling something behind her on a rope, tears around the nearby corner, nearly crashing into me. She looks about 10, filthy, with matted hair. At the end of the rope, she's dragging a pit bull puppy by bound forelegs. I pick up the scraped and bleeding animal and tell her, "Don't you know he can't run tied up like that?" She ignores me and yanks on the rope, looking nervously over her shoulder. The puppy whimpers, and the barking of the neighborhood dogs grows louder. "Give me my dog," she demands. "Hey, give a pup a break," I say, holding the dog beyond her reach. I ask her her name, and she ignores the question. "Let go my dog." "Tell me your name, and I'll give him to you." Her eyes grow wide as the barking rises to a crescendo. She says, "Dog bait." "What?" "That's my name." A pack of ferocious dogs rounds the corner and I drop the pup. The kid takes off, dragging the yelping animal like a ham on a rope. I'm right on her heels, and behind me, Dobermans, Rottweilers, German Shepherds, and assorted mongrels close the distance. She turns into an alley and disappears into a phalanx of older children. Each of the riff-raff kids holds a weapon: gun, club, spear, axe, machete. The summary massacre is the essence of efficiency. Within minutes, the dead dogs are dispatched, stacked, sacked, and hauled away. I ask Dogbait, "Why?" And she asks me, "Don't you eat hot dogs?" The blinking sign on the Motel 6 seems to recede as I make my way across the last vacant lot. A lone dog is howling somewhere. I enter the office of the motel wanting to find out about the dogs, but the albino is asleep on his recliner, his shirt unbuttoned to his waist. Around his neck is a beaded cord, and from it hangs the head of a dead chicken. The beaked remnant nestles in a patch of the albino's black chest hair that covers his pink-white skin. I rest a moment by the fetid pool before climbing the stairs. At the top of the landing, I watch some trash children fighting with sticks across the street. A fire glows in the blown-out window of one of the derelict buildings. I'm thinking, something about that albino isn't right. On InVision, I asked Dudmeat, aren't albinos supposed to have white hair all over their bodies? I wouldn't know, he says. Well, what do you know about him? Dudmeat says, Al knows things. Even more important, he knows a lot of people who know things. In my room, I fall on the bed, listen to the rain, and sleep. Oh, blessed sleep. Until I'm awakened by a News Now reminder. I try to concentrate, but the news is like a dream. A news thing says, all work and no play makes the Prez a dull boy. But that's not true of this leader of the free world and his all-action hunting partner, Hammerman, Blood Warrior, away on African safari. A levitating Land Rover kicks up dust as it flies across the savannah. Inside, Hammerman is driving while President Stickman surveys the horizon with binoculars. The vehicle parks on a hillock overlooking a watering hole ringed with birds. The hunters, dressed in camouflage, step from the vehicle, weatherbees in hand. Through his field glasses, the president zeroes in on a rhino. The wind ripple on the water shifts direction. The rhino looks up and lowers its head. Stickman draws a bead on the myopic eye. The eye blinks. The rhino charges. Stickman holds his fire until the massive beast is almost on him, squeezing off a single round that brings the massive beast skidding to a halt at his feet. Hammerman wraps his arm around the president's shoulder, exclaiming to the InVision audience, I couldn't have done it better myself. The news thing says, the daredevil pair of trophy buddies are taking hunting to a whole nother level. And now, more news from the Dark Continent. I'm half dozing as another news thing says, concern is growing about the secondary effect of acquired skin disease. Around the world, pigment-altering ASD is causing dark-skinned people to bleach out and light-skinned people to turn dark. While on the surface this may seem desirable to some, the phenomena is challenging fundamental racial assumptions. Although it's long been accepted that people of all colors are just about equal, many people still believe that light-skinned people retain an edge. In order to finally put this issue to rest, a prestigious group of researchers is meeting in Nairobi to discuss the effect that acquired skin disease is having on matters of race. And now for a star-killing update. I see a fetus floating in a bottle. A news thing says, an arrest warrant has been issued for talk star Billy Boyman regarding the murder of trans star show queen, which raises questions about paternity of the surviving fetus. Surveillance shows Boyman pushing his way through a crowd surrounded by a team of auto lawyers. A news thing asks the celebrity, "Hey Billy, is that your kid?" He responds, "I never even met the woman, or whatever the hell it was supposed to be." The other news things say, "Star killing, news now, or before it even happens. Star killing, crime worth watching." And now, news in general. It looks like bills and coins blowing in a whirlwind. A news thing says, chump change is gaining new cachet. Money is getting tighter every day, and it's no surprise that even regular folks are hedging their bets with a stash of cool cash. A woman says, it might just be chump change to rich folks, but this could really come in handy in a pinch. I get a call from Autobroker. Have you looked at energetics? I mumble, it's a disaster. He says, actually, you really need to. I tell him it's worthless. Sell it. He says, you might want to think about that. I say, chump change. What's the difference? I gotta go to sleep.